Coming up next, one of my favorite stories from the 1970s and 80s. It was about a player who was cut loose by the worst franchise of the NHL and then spent 5 years riding the buses in the minor leagues. His dream of an NHL career drifting further away with every monotonous mile. But just as he was ready to quit, he got a chance call up to the big leagues, and 1 year later, he'd become the NHL's top goal scorer and the toast of Hollywood hockey. Now, once he became an established star, fate intervened and threatened to take away everything he'd achieved. Now, stay tuned for the ultimate underdog story of a legend with unmatched perseverance who was the missing piece of one of the NHL's all-time greatest lines. Welcome to the Pro Hockey Alumni channel, where we celebrate the legends of hockey's golden era in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, if you remember going to NHL games before the digital age and buying a game program and reading those stories and looking at those lineups and reading those things cover to cover like I did, this is the channel for you. Now, this is an example of a program that I have. This is from 1973-74, a game I attended, Boston Bruins versus Buffalo Sabres at the Boston Garden. Now, today's legend passed through the Boston Garden as a member of the Bruins a decade later, and by the time he arrived there, he had an incredible story to tell. Here it is, coming right up.
Out is Simmer, down with Taylor. Taylor breaking from the side, took a shot, the rebound, scores! Charlie Simmer. As you pointed out, Gary, rarely makes a mistake when given an opportunity.
Born in Terrace Bay, Ontario, March 1954, Charlie Simmer excelled in amateur hockey in Kenora, Ontario. He went on to play just one season of junior A hockey, that was 73-74, when he scored 45 goals for the OHA Sioux Greyhounds. In 1974, he was drafted in the third round of the NHL draft by the California Golden Seals and the second round by the Cleveland Crusaders. He chose to pursue an NHL career in Oakland, a franchise desperate for talent. Now, the Seals loved his size, 6'3", 205, and saw the potential in him, but however, they envisioned him playing center. The problem? He lacked the speed and playmaking ability necessary to play center effectively at the NHL level. Now, his real talent was his ability to score. His style wasn't flashy. He thrived on garbage goals, rebounds, deflections, and net front scrambles. Now, between 1974 and 1977, Charlie played a total of 80 NHL games, netting just 11 goals. Coaches labeled him a minor leaguer, a player who could dominate in Salt Lake City and Springfield, but couldn't translate that success to the NHL. 1976-77, the Seals moved to Cleveland and became the Barons, but Simmer's career continued to stall. Now, that year, he scored 32 goals in 51 games with the Salt Lake City Golden Eagles, but could muster just 2 goals in 24 NHL games as a fourth-line center in Cleveland. Finally, when the Cleveland Barons faced bankruptcy at season's end, they released several players to reduce expenses. Charlie Simmer was among those let go. It seemed as though his NHL aspirations were slipping away. In 1977, George McGuire, the general manager of the Los Angeles Kings, recognized potential in Simmer, and they signed him. However, skepticism remained among the coaching staff. Despite strong performances in 1977 and 78 preseasons, Simmer was demoted to the minors each time. And working against him was that he had a two-way contract, meaning he was paid much less if he were sent to the minors, where other left wings in the organization, such as Steve Jensen, Murray Wilson, and Danny Grant, were on one-way deals. He spent the 77-78 season with the Springfield Indians of the American League, scoring 42 goals in 87 games. I remember those times, and particularly I would get a cable system where we get Channel 22 News, which was in Springfield down the road here. And I would see those highlights of Charlie Simmer and wonder why he was still in the American Hockey League. I remember actually sending away for a glossy photo of Charlie Simmer, and Mario Lessard for that matter too. And despite his success there, he remained overlooked. And when he was demoted after the training camp in 1978, he admittedly became depressed and was convinced his NHL dreams were over. He noted later that 5 years was enough time to prove himself, and he planned on retiring at season's end. But then, in January 1979, injuries left the Kings short-handed. Coach Bob Berry, a teammate of Simmer's a year earlier in Springfield, he needed reinforcements, and he called up Simmer. The Kings were on one of those long West Coast to East Coast road trips. The team had scored just one goal in the previous 3 games. They were all losses. Now, in a bid to ignite the team's offense, Berry placed Simmer on the top line alongside the great Marcel, Dionne, and gritty right wing Dave Taylor. The chemistry was immediate as Dionne scored 4 goals at Detroit in Simmer's debut on January 13, and a night later, the Kings upset the Boston Bruins 7-3 with Taylor scoring twice. And it was plain to see that Simmer was the perfect fit for this yet unnamed Triple Crown line, as noted in this Kings highlight video.
Simmer, guy who could not skate. I mean, he couldn't skate forward, backward, but he could find a place to the front of the net and stand there.
Charlie had the most amazing hands in front of the net and able to tip pucks out and stand in there with his big body.
Charlie had a knack for scoring goals. He just, big size and reach and great hands. And
he was always happy, always upbeat, a fun guy, always wanted to joke with you, great sense of humor.
Through all the success, he didn't change as a person, just a quality individual, and he remains the same today.
The Kings had long sought a left wing who could succeed with Dionne. With Simmer's arrival, they found the perfect fit.
Well, I got called up, and I was sort of anticipating to be sitting on the bench for the whole evening again and waiting until the injuries got back. But it was in Detroit against the Red Wings in the old Olympia, so it was pretty exciting for me because of the old building and a lot of heritage that was there. But I think a young guy named Marcel Dionne had a great night that night. He scored 4 goals, and Davey Taylor, who was playing his right side, got 1, and I think I weaseled in 1 assist for the whole evening, but we ended up winning big, and from then on, we just seemed to get better after that.
2-on-2. Here's Simmer over to Dionne. Vancouver zone, right wing. He shoots. He scores!
In 38 games in 78-79, he tallied 21 goals and 39 points. Dionne was one of the greatest centers in hockey history, but never found line mates that could complement his dazzling playmaking skills and his blazing speed. But now he teamed with Simmer and Taylor to form one of the most prolific offensive lines in hockey history. In 1979-80, Simmer racked up a league-leading 56 goals, even though a knee injury sidelined him for 16 games. He was named a first-team NHL All-Star, while Dionne led the league in scoring with 137 points. That amazing season set the stage for a magical 80-81 campaign. The Kings finished 4th in NHL standings with 99 points. Simmer was again a first-team All-Star, and all 3 Triple Crown line mates topped 100 points. And they were introduced as a trio at the 1981 NHL All-Star Game, held fittingly in Los Angeles. The Triple Crown line had boosted the Kings' profile in LA. In fact, the line was featured in the 1980s standard hokey hockey music video.
I'll never break the rules again, 'cause you're my only goal. Forgive my misconduct. Forgive me my misconduct. Please forgive my misconduct last night.
And then Charlie landed in the celebrity pages when he married 1980 Playmate of the Year Terry Wells. Both literally and figuratively, Charlie Simmer was a long way from Springfield, Massachusetts. But just 3 weeks after the pinnacle of the NHL All-Star Game, it all came to a sudden and grotesque end. On March 2, 1981, in a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto, Simmer went hard into the boards trying to fight for a loose puck. What happens next was every hockey player's nightmare. His right leg snapped in 2 places. His tibia and fibula were shattered, and he crumbled to the ice in agony. The injury was so severe that doctors feared it would end his career. Now, he recalls that injury in this 2012 interview.
It was beginning of March, and I was already at 56 goals, so you had a whole month to go, and it wasn't a lot of fun either. The best. If you're going to break your leg, break it on Hockey Night in Canada, at Maple Leaf Gardens, because let's just say, people, I can't, the same as you, I can't tell you how many people come up, I remember you broke your leg, and it's like, well, I'd like to kind of forget that, and the doctor didn't believe that I broke my leg, because I wasn't screaming, I was sort of in a position that it didn't hurt, so I just, just leave me here like this, and then he cut my skate, the tape, and the foot fell right to the side, and he went, yeah, I think you broke it.
Simmer was rushed into surgery, and a metal plate was inserted into his leg. His season was over. The Kings had been hoping for a deep playoff run, but losing Simmer was a devastating blow. The rehab process was grueling. Charlie spent months in a cast and then had to learn how to walk properly again before even thinking about skating. It was mentally and physically exhausting. He returned to the ice eventually, but he scored just 15 goals in the 81-82 season. It was demoted to the 4th line. The Kings limped through a dismal 24-win season and barely made the NHL playoffs. So even though the 81-82 season was a struggle for Simmer, He was still part of one of the hockey's greatest all-time moments, the miracle on Manchester. April 10, 1982, the Kings faced the high-powered Edmonton Oilers in Game 3 of their 5-game first-round playoff series. Now, the Oilers were led by Wayne Gretzky, and they were heavy favorites. The series stood at 1 game apiece. By the end of the second period, LA trailed 5-0. Now, the fans and owner, Jerry Buss, began leaving the Forum. Who could blame them? They assumed the game was over. What followed was one of the greatest comebacks in league history. In the third period, the Kings stormed back, scoring 5 unanswered goals, with Simmer scoring the third goal. The crowd exploded as the Kings forced overtime. Then, in overtime, little-known Darryl Evans fired a wrist shot past Oilers goalie Grant Fuhr, completing the unthinkable comeback. The Kings won 6-5, and the miracle on Manchester was born. The Kings would go on to win that series, and Simmer began his own personal resurgence with 11 points in 10 playoff games.
Knocked down. Left point. He shoots. Safe. Rebound. Simmer. He scores. Charlie Simmer picked up the rebound and went to his backhand on the right side of the net. Put it under the crossbar. And the Kings lead 1-0.
The following season, he teamed with Bernie Nichols and Jim Fox and scored 29 goals. In 1983-84, he was once again reunited with Taylor and Simmer, and the Triple Crown line was back. Charlie scored 44 goals and played in the NHL All-Star Game. However, despite his improved production, Charlie Simmer's time in Los Angeles was coming to an end. Simmer had signed a contract extension with the Kings in 1981 worth about $250,000 per season through 86-87. However, due to an issue with a contractual clause, he sought to have the deal restructured. The Kings denied this request. Now, feeling betrayed by management, he refused to report to training camp in 1984. Things became heated between Simmer, LA GM Rogie Vachon, and new head coach Pat Quinn. After just 5 games the 84-85 season, Vachon traded Simmer to the Boston Bruins in exchange for a first-round draft pick. In Boston, Simmer was expected to boost the Bees' struggling offense. He delivered immediately, with 33 goals in 63 games, paired in a line with Ken Linseman and Keith Crowder, doing what Charlie Simmer did best.
Into O'Connell, to Bourque at the point. Ray Bourque closing in, a shot, 6 save, rebound, they score! Simmer batting it in about knee-high after Bourque had been stopped. Middleton had a poke at it, and the former Los Angeles King, Charlie Simmer, tremendous man around the goal crease. There's Bourque with the shot. And then Middleton got it in front about knee-high.
In addition to his goal-scoring, Linseman and Crowder and the rest of the Bruins were impressed with Charlie's all-around game and his willingness to battle in the corners and work hard on his own end of the ice. Now, Simmer had 2 more strong seasons in Boston, but was struck with numerous serious injuries. In 1986, he suffered a severe knee injury and a frightening eye injury courtesy of the Buffalo Sabres' Gates Orlando. He still managed to score 36 goals in 55 games. He once joked, "I'm running out of ways to get hurt and come back." Now, that resilience was acknowledged at season's end when he was awarded the Masterton Trophy for dedication and perseverance to the game. By 1987, however, his contract had expired and he begun to decline. He was left unprotected in the 1987 NHL waiver draft. Now, he was claimed by the Pittsburgh Penguins for the 87-88 season, joining a young Mario Lemieux, and things looked promising from the start.
Well, you settle for a point, but when you got Lemieux and Coffey out there, you also have to think that they've got the firepower to do better than that. Robinson a giveaway here to Lemieux with a backhand, knocked down, they score! The Penguins, Charlie Simmer, and the Pittsburgh Penguins come from behind 3-1, and at 29 seconds of overtime, they have beaten the Montreal Canadiens 4-3.
But at age 33, he struggled with the Penguins, and his career wound down. He was spending a lot of time on the bench and was out of the lineup more than he was in it. His final NHL stats, 712 NHL games, 342 goals, 711 points. After a year in Germany, Simmer signed as a player coach with the San Diego Gulls. Now, that's an interesting team. It also featured the likes of Ron Duguay. Now, he eventually became an analyst on television, covering NHL games in Phoenix, LA, and Calgary. And today, Charlie is enjoying success in the oil and gas industry. Charlie Simmer's story is the ultimate rags to riches tale, and his journey remains an inspiration for anyone looking for just one chance. Now, what are your memories of Charlie Simmer, the Triple Crown line, and those 1980s LA Kings? Let's have our usual excellent discussion in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this look back at the life and career of Charlie Simmer, check out this video of another legend of hockey's golden era.
Ivan Hallward back at the point on the line of Simmer, Taylor, and Dionne up front. Dionne won the draw. That's